So dear cellmates, to draft our half-scale bodice, these are the measurements required. You need your bust circumference, you need your waist circumference, your shoulder span, you need your bust point, that's from the shoulder to the nipple point. You need your half length, that's from the shoulder to the tiniest part of the body, that's the waistline. So you want to tie a tape around this part and then just take the measurement from the shoulder to that point. And if you can't get it on your client, all you just need to do is to come up by 2 inches from your navel and just tie a tape around that part. Now you also need your back half length. Now I believe that everybody should know that the front and the back are actually not equal. Yes, so you want to take the measurements from the nape of the neck at the back down to where you tied your tape on the half length. You also need your bust span. People also call it the nipple to nipple. So let's get straight into business. Now you see this beautiful box that I've drawn. To get this box now, all you need to do is to go ahead and take the biggest circumference of your measurements. Can be your bust, can be your waist, whatever the biggest circumference between the bust, and you want to divide it into 2. So when I divided my bust circumference, which is 34, into 2, I add 17. So to this 17, I just added about 1 inch. That's for ease at the side to be able to do whatever I want to do. So at the end of the day, I actually used about 19 inches here. And I further went ahead to divide this 19 inches into 2. So I can have the space for the back and then for the front. So I've also gone ahead to input in my front length, half length, which is 16 inches. And I marked it across. Now for the back half length, remember that the back half length is shorter than the front half length. For me now, my back half length is 2 inches shorter than the front. Yours can be 1.5, 3, 2.5, whatever it is. You want to take this measurement and just go ahead and mark it like this. So this is my back half length, which is 14, and then I'll just connect it using a straight ruler like this. So you can see the difference. So this is the back half length and this is the front half length. Now the next measurement you want to input in, now we started our drafting fully. The shoulder. Now my shoulder is 14. Whatever your shoulder is, you want to divide it into 2. So 14 divided into 2 now is 7. So I'm going to place my tape from the center front, like this is the center front, and this part here is the center back, that's the CB. So you want to place it like this and then mark out your 7 inches. You want to repeat the same thing for the back, your shoulder, 7 inches. Now for the neck width, for the front now, the standard is 3 inches. Yes, it works for everybody. And the depth is 3 inches. But to get your own neck width, you can use your bust divided by 12. So once I've gotten it, I'll just use my curve. So this is my armhole curve. It's actually very important. And then you just go ahead and connect it like this. So now that you've done that now, the next thing for the back also, the back neck width is 3 inches, while the depth is 1 inch. And then you just use your curve to also go ahead and connect it like this. Now we want to go ahead and get our shoulder slope. Now for the shoulder slope now, all you want to do for the front now, you want to come in down by 1.5, while for the back you want to use 1 inch. Is this a standard? Yes, you can actually call it a standard. That's because the back is actually sloping towards the front, and then you connect it using your ruler to the neck like this. And then I repeat the same thing for the front. So I'm going to connect from my 1.5 to the tip of the neck like this. Now it's time to get our chest line. Now to get your chest line now, you want to use this formula. That's the full bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5. Or you use the full bust circumference divided by 4 and subtract 1 from it. So my full bust circumference now is 34. When I divide it by 6 and add my 1.5 to it, I would get 7.1. So I'm going to impute my 7.1 now from this back here, like from the back shoulder slant. Can you see the shoulder? So I'm going to mark out my 7.1, and I'll proceed to this shoulder line and measure what I have, which is 8.1. So this is what I would mark across the 8.1 like this. So you want to use your own accurate measurement, the 8.1, like this. And then you connect all these lines together. So this here now is my chest line. And then on the front now, I'm going to impute in my shoulder to my bust point. Mine is 9.7, but whatever yours is, you want to impute your. And if you actually forgot to take your shoulder to your bust points on your client, you can just go ahead and use the formula. Bust, that's the full bust circumference, divided by 4 plus 1. So you can actually use this. It actually works too, but it's always preferable and always better for you to take your accurate measurements. And then I'll just proceed to connecting this now. So I have my bust point already. Like this. So on the chest line, remember this is our chest line. You want to input in your shoulder measurements again. That's the 7. I'll repeat the same thing at the back too. The 7 inches like this. And then I'll connect it to the shoulder line like this. I'll also repeat the same thing for the front. Like this. So to get your armhole now, you want to go ahead and divide this armhole line into 2. So for the front now, I have about 6.75. When I divide it into whatever I have, I would mark the midpoint. I'll repeat the same thing at the back too. I'll divide whatever I have into 2 and then mark the midpoint like this. Now to prevent your armhole from gaping, what you want to do is at the front now, you want to come in by 0.75 and then just mark. This will actually prevent your armhole from gaping like this. While for the back, you want to come in by ½ inch like this, and then you connect it to the tip of this shoulder like this. Let's repeat the same thing for the front. You connect it to the tip. Now to complete your armhole now, on your chest line, you want to go ahead and divide your bust circumference by 4. So my full bust circumference is 34 inches. When I divide it into 4 now, I would have 8.5. So I'm going to mark my 8.5 like this. I'll repeat the same thing at this part, 8.5. Now, because by the time we start tightening this CB now, we would have taken some parts of this bust on the chest line. So I'd actually advise you to add about 0.25 here. So by the time we actually take it out, we've made up for it here. And then I'll use my curve to connect it like this. You can see that I've placed my curve. So I've gotten my armhole. I put the same thing for the front also. I would connect it like this. Now we want to impute in our dart. For the dart now, you require your bust span or your nipple to nipple. So whatever your bust span or your nipple to nipple is, you want to divide it into 2. So when I divide my 7 inches into 2, I would have 3.5. So I'm going to mark my 3.5 from the center front like this. I would mark it all the way to the bust point like this, and then I'll connect it using a straight line like this. Now for the dart intake now, I would use 0.5. So I'm going to mark out 0.5 on both sides, making it in total of 1 inch, and then connect it to the bust point like this. Now on the back now, from the center back, To prevent our zipper from bulging, we want to eliminate any type of or any form of bulging at the back. From the CB line, this is the CB line. From the CB line now, I am going to come in by 0.5 to 1 inch depending on how bent the back is. So I actually like using 0.75. For me, it's like a standard. And then I'll connect it to those midpoints of the armhole like this. So this is how it goes. This I'm connecting it like this. So you can see the 0.25 we added here now. Remember that we actually took it out from this part here. Now, to prevent your dart from being too close to the CB, I would actually advise you to start taking your dart from this cutting. All the sides are going out now. The excesses you are taking out. So I advise you to start taking your dart from this CB. So I'm going to take my 3.5 from here. And then I'll measure what I have now. This is about 4.25. I'll bring it to the chest line, mark my 4.25. Now, our dart is not getting to the chest line. You have to stop about 1 inch or 0.5 before the chest line. So I was going to connect this into a straight line. This is to prevent tightening at the back. And then I'll open up my dart by 0.5, again 0.5, making it 1 inch, and then connect it to that point here like this. So I'll connect it like this also. So you can see our basic bodice is almost ready. Now on the waistline, I'm going to divide my waist circumference into 4. So 26 divided by 4 would give me 6.5, and then I would mark it on the waistline 6.5. Now remember, we took 1 inch for the dart, so I'm going to input in the 1 inch like this, and then I'll connect it to the bust point like this. I'll put the same thing for the back, starting my measurement from this place. So 6.5 plus the 1 inch for the dart, and then also connect it like this. So you can see our basic bodice is almost ready. Almost done with our basic bodice. So now the last thing you want to do is to remember that this front now is now longer than the back. Now, to make them equal at the size, we have to introduce our bust dart. Now you take the distance from the front length to the back length. I have 2 inches here. Yours can do 1.5 or so, and then whatever the distance or the difference is between the front and the back, you want to input it in from this bust point as your bust dart. So mine is 2 inches now. From the bust this bust point line, you come down by the 2 inches, and then you connect it to the bust point line like this. So this is it now. Can you see our basic bodice is looking so nice and beautiful? So with this now, you can actually alter it to any pattern, your bustier, your cupped bustier, whatever you want. Your armhole princess that, but you need to have this basic foundation. So this is what the basic bodice looks like.